Drink with James, episode 40. They let me out of the conference room again. We are at the obscenely beautiful and lovely Meadowwood Resort in Napa. Or is it the Napa Valley? I don't know. The resort reached out. They're big fans of the show. They wanted us to film on their croquet field, and who am I to say no to that? Tim and I come out here. First of all, it took 12 hours to get out here. I have this theory that there's nowhere in the world worth going that's not difficult to get to. Preface that by saying other than New York City, London, and Paris. But it took us 12 hours to get out here. We landed, I went for a little bike ride, I came back, and I had the most obscenely luxurious hour-and-a-half massage. These massage rooms had their own, look, this is my first rodeo. I've gotten a massage before. Usually the locker rooms, they have like locker rooms and saunas and showers, and then you go into the room and get the massage. No, not here. That's not good enough for Meadowwood. Here, each room has its own steam room, its own shower, its own, whole bathroom, amenities kit, you change there. It was absolutely incredible. And if you ever do find yourself in this resort, first of all, you're obviously doing quite well in life, so congratulations. But secondly, definitely check out the spa. It's a 5-star spa, which I didn't even know was a thing. And they have a 3-star Michelin restaurant on premises. And I'm assuming it's a 5-star resort. So this place is just absolutely crazy and insane. And we were super thankful to the team at Meadowwood for sending us out here. And I could literally film every Drink with James here. So if y'all have budget and you want to just send me out once a month, I can film 4 of these at once, just it'll be great.
How was your croquet experience?
Oh, right. So then we came out here this morning and they had a croquet pro who used to be ranked 11th in the country before then going and playing bass for, who was it? Who did he play bass for?
I don't remember.
It was a British, Tom Jones. So he was ranked 11th in the country. Had to give up his professional croquet career to go play bass with Tom Jones and travel around the world doing that, and is back here now full-time as the pro. And they taught us how to play British croquet, not the American shitty like plebeian version, but like the old school one. And I won. I beat Tim, which is not super surprising since I told him if he won that he would be fired. So. So let's get into questions. We already drank a bottle of champagne, so I'm running low on drinks. So let's get into the questions. Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit at the very end. We had For You last week. You can see the video on Facebook. Tim will put a link somewhere. We touched on this briefly at the very, very end, but even the biggest brands in the world, especially in social, if you want to build a relationship with them, even the biggest brands, it is a small group of people or just one person. Meadowwood's a great example, right? They have over 500 employees that work here. It's a massive organization and operation, but there are really 2 people that work here that if you want to build a relationship with the brand that you need to know. So 2 out of 500. So you look at Gucci or you look at Procter & Gamble or Nike, there's always going to be usually just one person that you need to get in touch with and build a relationship to be able to work with that brand. So it can seem daunting to try and figure out how you work with these big companies, but you need to use the tools that we've talked about before, data.com, using LinkedIn, doing some digging to try and figure out who is the person that's going to be responsible for this and start with that person. Finding the person is the hard thing. You look on data.com, you looked on LinkedIn, you send those emails where you say trying to connect, and you say, hey, I'm trying to find the person at this brand that deals with social. And that's the thing, if you can't find the person, just any emails that you can find of people that work in corporate at those businesses, send them an email and say, I want to find the person who works with influencers at this brand. Could you point me in the right direction? That person, if they work in an unrelated department, probably will point you in the right direction, and then you're with the exact right person. So that's a really good tactic, and that's the hardest thing. Once you're connected with that person, you just go through the normal sales kind of relationship building process. You need to build a relationship. You need to build validation so that they know you're somebody that they should work with. You need to wait for an opportunity to come up. either in your life or with them that you can kind of jump into, and then you need to really just deliver on the work. And that, that is how you build relationships with big brands. You need to be, they have more choices than small brands. They can work with a lot of different people. So you need to go above and beyond. You need to really understand what their needs are, and make sure that you can create content that helps them do their jobs better. This question is twofold. If a brand reaches out and they want to gift you something, they just want to send you something, they often won't say any sort of key messaging or things they're interested in. For that point, I don't think a brand should have a huge amount of control over what you post, how you post it, things like that. If they're paying you, then they do have the ability to control your content a little better. We like to think about it as a fence, and we tell our brand partners that you should give influencers a fence to play in and let them play inside that fence, but make sure there's boundaries so they know, we're a luxury fashion brand. Here's 5 brands we don't want you to post about. We don't want you to post these kind of photos. We don't want you to speak about it in this kind of way. So they give you these kind of boundaries, and anywhere in the middle you can kind of play around in. I think as an influencer, if a brand doesn't give you boundaries, I don't think that means go ahead and post whatever you want. I think you should actually try and push the brand person to say, okay, is there anything I should avoid? Are there any competing brands I shouldn't keep in this post? Are there any key messages? Key message is something we hear a lot of time from our campaign brand partners, and you should be asking them is, are there key messages you need me to hit? Is there anything specific you need me to focus on? Again, when somebody pays you, you now work for them, right? And you are trying to sell product or get brand recognition or whatever it is that their goals are. And the deeper you can dive into what those actual goals are so that you can create content that executes on that brief, the better. And once you understand the key messages and the things the brand is trying to do, you actually can have a good amount of flexibility on how you speak to those key messages, how you speak to the features of the product that they're trying to push. But if you don't understand those, the chance that you'll get it wrong and they won't be happy is actually quite high. So if you're not getting those guidelines from a brand, push them, and then be able to create content that touches on the brief. Yeah, if you've got let's say the brand is pretty vague, but you have this crazy idea you've wanted to do, and this feels like it would be a good opportunity to do that idea, talk to the brand first, because especially if the idea is, look, if your content is that you always do crazy, weird stuff, and you have a crazy, weird idea, then, that's probably why they came to you. If you're a more traditional style blogger and you have this crazy idea, or you're going to Antarctica next week and you want to shoot the post there, I would probably mention it to them, because they might be thinking, I'm buying this kind of content, and then you deliver this kind of content. And even though you might be really excited about it, they were expecting this. So if you have an idea for content for a branded partnership that is outside of your norm, I would definitely run it by the brand before, because you're going to be upset because you got so excited about this idea and you went out and you went above and beyond and you published it, and they just aren't happy, and then they want you to reshoot, or you kind of ruin the relationship and you feel like, but I put so much effort in, I went above and beyond. But again, your expectations weren't aligned because they were expecting this kind of post and you gave them this kind of post. So always good to check with the brand if you're operating outside of your norms. Yeah, look, I mean, it's like we say in negotiating, like a brand, if you ask them questions, you ask them to expand or elaborate on something, they're not going to walk away from the collaboration. We talked about this in negotiation. If somebody comes at you and says, hey, we'd love to work with you, and you say, cool, it's $3,000, they're not going to be like, oh, bye. They're probably going to say, oh, we only have 500. So this is a conversation, and there's not a lot of things that you could say that are going to just end the relationship. So if you need to ask them questions or communicate or pitch them idea, it's better to do that before you create the content than after, because after, then you have a problem, right? You've created the content, they feel bad, they don't want you to reshoot, but it's not hitting the brief, and their boss is going to come down on them, and you just create a difficult situation for everyone that could be eliminated by simply communicating beforehand. So yeah, I don't think it should be any big surprise that I love luxury hotels. This is a real great passion of mine. And let me just say again that Meadowwood is really hitting the mark on all of the points. But how do you go about getting press rates? Again, it goes back to the first question, which is, there is always just a person that's responsible. Now, hotels is a strange business, because if you look at something like the Four Seasons is a management company for buildings, but each Four Seasons is independently owned and operated by different people. So it's a little bit different because there's not this normal corporate structure. So each hotel generally, if it's a decent sized hotel, has their own marketing and PR people. So it can sometimes be a little bit harder to find those people. In that case, what you want to do is try and find the PR company that manages that hotel group. So even though each Four Seasons is independently owned and operated as essentially as a franchise, they have one PR firm that does PR for the whole suite of brands. So that person could point you in the right directions for the Four Seasons down in Miami or Hawaii or wherever it is that you're interested in going. So you kind of have two options. You can find the brand person for that specific thing, and sometimes you can just pick up the phone and call the property and say, hey, who handles the PR for the property? I'd love to speak to them, and they'll give you that contact. If they don't, you can just Google search, Four Seasons PR company, and it'll show you who runs PR for those firms, and you can reach out to them. So once you're there, cool. If you don't have a great relationship with the brand and you don't have a huge following, I would start by asking for press rates. They're usually 50 to 70% below what the advertised rates are. Brands are pretty willing to give them out to you. There's certainly less than deliverables that you have to say you have to do. Obviously, you still want to do a good job, but you don't have to do as much. So as you're building a relationship with a brand, it's actually fairly difficult to get fully comped rooms. A resort that is desirable and popular are going to have 90 to 95% occupancy rates on the weekends. So if you're traveling and you want to stay during the weekend, you might think to yourself, well, they have this room, they can just give it to me, but actually they could potentially be losing thousands of dollars on that because there's people that want to pay that won't be able to have that room. So getting comped rooms is tough. It's easier, again, once you have a relationship with the brand. And as we talked about before, you start with a relationship and then you validate yourself. A really good way to validate yourself is by paying for the press rate, doing a great job, over-delivering on what you said you would do, giving them a bunch of great content, and then the next time you're in town, reaching out and saying, hey, I'm coming into town, wondering if we could do anything. Leave it a little open like that, and if they want to comp the room, maybe they'll jump in and say that. You could also say, I'm coming back to town, love to get a press rate again. If you want more content, we could also talk about a comped room. I would love to do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's on you to kind of build that relationship. And then once you're there, we're going to do a whole video after this on how to do a good job with a hotel that gives you a comped or a press rate, and give you some 10 tips on things you should be doing there. But I think the number one thing to think about is that when you're staying at a hotel, you become an extension of their PR and marketing departments. And so you need to be overwhelmingly excited about it. You need to do a really great job talking about the things that they think are special about the hotel. Going to a hotel and taking 2 outfit photos in front of it and tagging them is not enough. These resorts, they all kind of have the little things that make them special, and those PR and marketing teams are looking for ways to tell their story more effectively. And if you don't know what those things are and you don't speak to them, then you're just kind of there tagging them in a photo, which isn't great. But if you know that, oh, they've just redesigned, they've just done a huge renovation on their bar, okay, then you know that one of your photos should be in the bar, and you should talk about how they just did this renovation. It's amazing. Because what the hotel wants is for people to see those posts and say, oh my God, that looks incredible. I'm going to Miami next week. I wouldn't have thought of staying there, but now I'm going to stay there. And if you don't do a good job showing the room and showing the amenities and showing all the things that make it special, then it's less likely that your followers are going to feel compelled to book a room there. And then what are you doing there anyway? You're not doing the brand any good. So Remember that you work for them and try to do a really good job and try and think, if I saw these posts, would it make me want to stay in this place? And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't post it. You should be posting something else. Look, I'm out of champagne and wait, Tim, you said it was...
It's just like, no, there's none left.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm out of champagne. I've got another video to shoot. I've got a 3-star Michelin dinner to eat later. I've got things to do, people. So I'm gonna leave. Thanks for watching. Thank you again to Meadowwood for having us out here. Thank you to Meadowwood for having us out. This place is completely insane. And we are gonna just, Tim and I are like children here. We're just gonna try and do everything. We have to go play tennis. We have to get into the pool. I think I might have to hit a drive on the golf course. Maybe play one more game of croquet. Tim's feeling a little bitter that I beat him. So we're out. Thanks for watching. See you next week.